Now, Scotland Yard gets hundreds of new cases every day, some serious, some petty, but none more laughable than this one. An international law firm has filed a case with their War Crimes Department. What are they asking for? The arrest of India's Army Chief and Home Minister. You heard that right, India's Army Chief and Home Minister. On what grounds? So-called war crimes in Jammu and Kashmir. And I know this is too dramatic to be taken seriously. So let's deconstruct this piece of news. Part 1, the logistics. What business does the London police have in Indian affairs? At first glance, nothing. These charges are not even real. But this law firm is banking on a special legal principle. It's called universal jurisdiction. What does that mean? It means that some crimes are so big that jurisdictions do not matter. Crimes like genocides or war crimes. In such cases, any court can take legal action. British courts do have a record of doing this. Part 2. Who is complaining? A group of international lawyers called Stoke White. Sounds very British, doesn't it? Well, that's precisely the plan. Take a look at their website. It's got a full-size picture of the London Bridge during sunset. But don't be fooled by the name and the pictures, because Stoke White is actually linked to Turkey. Meet Hakan Kamuz. He is the director of Stoke White. We pulled out his past employment history, and guess what we found? Kamuz once served as the head of Turkey's Independent Industrialists and Businessmen Association. He has served Turkish interests many times. And this complaint is just the latest instance. Frankly, the connection is not surprising. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is obsessed with Kashmir. He raises it at the United Nations. He talks about it at the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Basically, you give Erdogan a mic and he'll rant about Kashmir. But coming back to Stoke White, this is not an independent law firm. They have their own politics and agenda. In the past, they have filed cases against the UAE and Israel. What's common between both these countries? They're rivals of Turkey. Stoke White has an office in Istanbul. Their website advertises Turkish citizenship. And if none of this evidence can convince you, here's a 21st century litmus test. This international legal firm has 300 followers on Twitter. Part 3, and this is the most important part, where is the evidence? Apparently, it's all in this document. 41 pages. 2,000 testimonies, all of them gathered between 2020 and 2021. They're calling it an investigation. That's a hard sell looking at the title. This is what it says. India's war crimes in Kashmir. Doesn't sound like an investigation, does it? Sounds more like a judgment. Inside this document, it's more of the same. Indian armed forces are described as war criminals. It says there could be a genocide in Kashmir against Muslims. All of this is based on random accounts. We don't know who these witnesses are. Were they paid? Did they have a political agenda? Stoke White wants us to blindly trust them. But here's the problem. This report is riddled with political loyalties. Here's one example from page number 12. This is what it says. In addition to the international actors in the conflict in Jammu and Kashmir, there are a small number of non-state armed groups or armed resistance groups. Who exactly are they talking about? Well, we find out in the next paragraph. This is what it says. The armed groups include Hizbul Mujahideen, founded in 1988, and Jaish-e-Mohammed, founded in 2000 and led by Masood Azhar. Well, last we checked, these are terrorists, not non-state armed groups. Jaish-e-Mohammed is on the United Nations terror list. Hizbul Mujahideen has been sanctioned by the US and the European Union. To call them non-state armed actors, that is a war crime. We found more such slip-ups in the document. For instance, one account mentions Israeli operatives. That's right, Israeli covert officials in Jammu and Kashmir. Apparently, they interrogated and tortured prisoners. Too many spy movies. That's all I have to say about this report. We see what Turkey and Pakistan are trying to do here. They have two enemies, India and Israel. So why not hit two birds with one stone? Blame the Indian army for war crimes, add some Israeli spies for special effect. The Indian government is not even considering a response. Here's what one government official told us. It's the usual motivated case deserving no response, their words. And we couldn't agree more. This entire complaint is a symptom of desperation, a flimsy legal precedent, a sold-out law firm, and a report with more holes than Swiss cheese. India has never rejected international scrutiny on Kashmir. In fact, dozens of foreign lawmakers have visited Jammu and Kashmir since 2019. What India opposes is foreign meddling, foreign political designs. This so-called investigative report is just another example of that. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.